Back at Summit League Basketball Media Day, Commissioner Josh Fenton joining us now. How are we doing? Second annual Media Day. Have you liked everything coming together so far?
I'm great. First off, thank you guys for being here. This is a special event.
Yeah.
Basketball holds a special place in the Summit League, obviously. And so to have this event kind of kick off the season and to have kind of the activity that you see around the Premier Center, it's just great. And to have Hurrdat Sports and all the other entities that are here just adds a lot. So thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
We are happy to be here because there's been so much momentum also around women's basketball. How does the Summit League capitalize off that this year?
Well, first off, I think women's basketball in the Summit League has been a pretty significant thing for many years. You know, we've prided ourselves on having good quality women's basketball. I think we've got fan bases that support women's basketball at a higher level than maybe some other fan bases have in the past. I think we see the sport growing, and I think fans in general are going to continue to support women's basketball at a higher level. But it's just great for the sport in general and great for obviously the student athletes and their experiences. And so we think women's basketball has always had a special place in the Summit League, and we're going to continue to build on that through the regular season, obviously a special postseason tournament, and hopefully a run into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, you already mentioned it, a special tournament. This place is special. It's cool to see all the fan bases come together. And you mentioned the fan bases. I mean, it's full of energy. You have both the men's and women's here. What does this postseason tournament in this building, in this town, just show about the talent that's on display and also just the energy and the support that this league gets for basketball?
Yeah, first off, we think it's the best mid-major conference tournament in the country. Certainly I'm biased, but I think the numbers and kind of what you see visually when you come in or see it from a television perspective show that. And so the community of Sioux Falls has supported the tournament. Now we've had 15 tournaments here in Sioux Falls. So 2009 was the first year. And you see that as the community comes out to support not only the local teams, whether it be South Dakota State or South Dakota that are, an hour-ish away from Sioux Falls, but people are here for really all the sessions, men's and women's sessions. And so that type of environment, that type of energy to be able to have in a venue for all of our teams is really special. It will always start with the student athlete experience, and we think that we provide a great student athlete experience through the tournament. And so as we think about ways in which we can build and expand, it's always with the lens on the student athlete experience.
Commissioner, we've talked to a lot of coaches and we'll continue today about how they schedule, because they understand that when they get into league play, it's a grind, right? And so they know what they're up against once that calendar flips to January. There's really only been 2 times where this has been a 2-bid league on the women's basketball side. That was in 2019 and 2021. I talked to a lot of coaches all over the country, and they think about, how do I schedule to the net? And how do I think about my net rankings on the women's side and all of those things? What are the conversations that you all have at the conference level, leadership-wise, with your administrators, with coaches, about approaching non-conference scheduling, both on the women's and in the men's side? Yeah,
and it's very similar with both. So first off, there's been a challenge of just getting games.
Yes.
How do I get games? And it may be a little bit more challenging on the men's side than the women's side. And certain programs face more challenges than others. Geographics play into that. Mm-hmm. And so what we've done is try to approach it from the standpoint of, can we create conference challenges? And you are aware of the Big Sky mm-hmm. Challenge. Mm-hmm. And we have had conversations with others, the WAC being one of them, nothing yet to come of that, where we can layer in guaranteed home games for them.
Yeah.
We can provide a conference schedule, and right now with 9 institutions, we're playing 16 games, 8 at home. But if we can layer in additional home games that they seemingly are having a tough time getting, we want to be able to do it. So it kind of starts with that. Mm-hmm. And then we've got some philosophies around how do we want our teams to schedule. I hesitate to say that they're requirements, because they're not. Because it's too hard to make them requirements.
Yeah.
Because coaches can only do so much, and they can only get the games that are provided to them. But we do have some kind of guidelines around, okay, if you're in the top tier of the conference, we would like to see you playing, maybe a few more quad 1, quad 2, maybe even quad 3 games. If you're in the lower tier of the conference, we want to see you playing games that you think you have a chance to win.
Right.
And that may be some quad 4 games or on the lower end of the net. The simple on scheduling is schedule the team that you think you can beat, the hardest game possible that you think you can beat.
Good philosophy.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
This is true.
But we had men's and women's coaches meetings yesterday, and frankly, 45 minutes of that hour and a half was spent around non-conference scheduling.
You mentioned the Big Sky Summit League Challenge, which I think in its first year was a really success because of the exposure that you got and the games that you got on both the men's and the women's side. It moves from being in January into the true non-con now. I know that was something that coaches talked a lot about. As you look at these games headed forward in this challenge, it has to be something that you all want to continue because it not only gives you those games, but they're great matchups that fans are going to really want to see.
Yeah, there's a travel aspect that maybe is easier for some than others. And so it's never going to be, a perfect fit, whether it's the Big Sky or any other conference, for everybody across the league. But people in general say, hey, this is good for our men's and women's programs because we're getting the games. And so we need to manage the travel. What we created with the Big Sky, so year 1 last year, this year's year 2, next year's year 3, that's what's on the contract. We've had an initial discussion with the Big Sky about how do we extend into the future. Nothing official yet, but I think we'll eventually get to that point. I think they have a desire to do it because they also struggle in getting games. But Missy, you also mentioned the promotion and exposure that comes from it.
Yeah.
Like we got a pretty big shining light in college basketball on the Summit League and the Big Sky because of the challenge that we had in the first part of January last year. I think we'll get some of that, maybe not to the same extent this past year, because last year was pretty spectacular. We did the funny videos and the commissioner challenges and all that type of stuff. And then, oh, by the way, it ended in a tie. A tie.
Which actually makes it even juicier.
Correct.
Yes.
It ended in a tie. And I remember Ryan Powell on our team telling me on that Saturday night, we tied. I'm like, really? We tied? But just so all the Big Sky fans out there realize, we did have a tiebreaker that was cumulative points, and we did win the tiebreaker.
So there you go.
Despite them wanting to move the tiebreaker to arm wrestling between me and their commissioner.
Hey, it's still some juice. There's some juice behind that.
That's right.
I have to ask you, because you are someone that lives in this crazy landscape that is college athletics on a daily basis. Yesterday, there was some news about the NCAA settlement with the Power 5 conferences and the preliminary approval antitrust settlement, way more that we want to go into. But I do want to ask you, in the world that you live in, there's a trickle-down effect and how mid-major conferences are going to manage this. But then I think there's also been an overarching question that not a lot of people have answered in terms of things like Title IX and where it goes from there. So how do you and your staff at the Summit League kind of try to handle this constantly moving target that is college athletics?
See, the simplest thing I can give you, because we could literally sit here for 4 hours and talk about
it'd be way longer than your coaches meeting, right?
Yes. Is that I, as the commissioner, not so much our staff, more so me, and I feel like this is my role, is to communicate the information that our membership needs to make the decisions that are in the best interest of their own institutions. We haven't gotten to the extent of saying, hey, we need everybody to do X, Y, and Z, or we need everybody to opt into the settlement, because opting in may mean something different from North Dakota to Oral Roberts. And there are considerations. There's enrollment considerations. There's Title IX considerations. There's obviously just financial spending considerations. And so we're still early and not maybe totally understanding what the practical implications are for, frankly, everybody across Division I's, high majors down to the mid to low majors. And so we need a little bit more information before we can make, I think, some intelligent decisions on what does this mean for the Summit League and how do we position the Summit League. The last thing I'll say is the settlement was needed and is good for college sports. There are aspects of the settlement that we can agree to disagree within the industry about.
Right.
But it is good for college sports to move us forward. My hope is that with also some congressional support, we can get the environment, the litigious environment, to calm down a little bit.
That would be a great goal.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to throw in another question because I'm sure you love this term too, conference realignment, right?
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
We've seen this across the
It's a
landscape.
buzzword.
And I'm thinking if I'm sitting at Big Ten Media Day, I might have to have a 4-night stay at a hotel because there's so many teams, right? There's so many different
18.
teams. 18,
Oh,
yeah. And you look at the conferences and just how much shuffling has gone on. How does that trickle down to the mid-major level? And not only Summit League, but you look at the Big Sky, you've seen it in the Mountain West already. How does that work?
It doesn't work well. I probably spend 75% of my time right now around what I would call the topic of membership health and stability. And so obviously that starts with the 9 member institutions that are in our room today. I think we have 9 committed institutions. I think we have 9 institutions that are strong as institutions, which I don't think everybody can say across the country based upon what's changing with higher education, enrollment, things of that nature. We have 4 state flagships. We've got 2 branch campuses of significant systems, University of Missouri, University of Nebraska systems, right? And then we've got 3 strong privates, 3 privates that are in fairly good financial health. And so we've got something that we think we can build on. We also think we have a lot of commonality in the room. And so it starts with the member institutions that we have, ensuring that they feel as though that they have the value that they need to get out of their conference affiliation. Then we look at, okay, are there opportunities to complement or add further value to our existing schools by situations that may be out there? There's not any easy answer to that. Yes, we are in, at times, a bit of a reactive world. And I'd be lying to you if I told you that, I know exactly what's going on and I know exactly what the next step is. And that when Ross Dellinger tweets something, I'm like, oh, I knew that was coming, because we do react off of that.
Yeah.
I saw Ross 2 weeks ago and a couple of commissioners said to him, hey, Ross, we get our information from you. You have the information sometimes before me. So sometimes the commissioners are the last to know. And you try not to take it personally if you were to get a call, but you're focused on how do you build membership health and strength of the existing, and then can we find ways to complement? What that means for us long-term in the future, or short-term, long-term in the future with membership, remains to be seen. And that's the honest answer I can give you today. Do I think we'll have opportunities? Yeah, I do think we'll have opportunities. The last thing I'll say on this topic is the challenge, unrelated to us, the challenge that I think we face as an industry with conference realignment is, what role does football play in the structure?
Yes.
And what role does football play at the highest level and then kind of down through the mid-major level? And how is football and the importance of football? And I recognize the importance of football. I love college football. But how their role impacts decisions that have to be made or are being made by institutions across the country that maybe they're looking at it and saying, oh, I wish I don't have to make this decision, but I kind of have to make this decision.
Right.
And that to me is kind of I don't know. I look at that and I say, that's a bit of a too bad moment for us in our industry. And we got to find a way to do better. And I think we hopefully can in the future.
No doubt.
Well, Commissioner, you're lucky because we're out of time.
Perfect. I just filibustered the end of that.
We appreciate you having us at the Summit League Media Day, and we appreciate everything you guys do for women's sports as well.
You guys are the best. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, thank you.